The hospital is dark. In a hospital, even family members cannot stay with patients outside visiting hours, nor can they remain inside the facility. While exceptions occasionally exist, only critically ill patients may have family present. Thus, the hospital, excluding the ER, was utter silence itself. That autumn hour, not a soul in sight at the main gate. After parking the car, I inquired at the hospital's main desk. I explained I was a longtime friend, heard she had cancer, and asked if I could see her for just 5 minutes. The answer, of course, was no. They gave the obvious response that the next day was an option and the patient's rest was priority. But it was truly disappointing. Leaving behind the staff member's words that I could come in at 8 a.m., I walked out of the hospital. Of course, the thought that Holly might pass away tomorrow, or that I could come back tomorrow or over the weekend, didn't cross my mind at all then. So the clever plan I came up with was, spend the night at the office, then come back before rush hour. That way, I can save the time it would take to go home. So I left the hospital again and drove my car further south, to the office. I'd always known Manhattan was a city that never sleeps, but I witnessed for the first time that even past midnight, quite a few traders were already at work for the Asian market. I passed their 35th floor and entered my office on the 48th. The windows faced south. Lights illuminated the Statue of Liberty, and several ships and ferries drifted slowly past its surroundings. Their lights flickered as sluggishly as the passing time, heading south, north, west, and east, respectively. Listening to 1010 WINS AM radio news broadcast, I stared blankly at the flickering computer monitor without much thought. Then I caught up on work, drank a glass of water, and went down to the first floor of the building and back up again 2 or 3 times. Before I knew it, dawn had broken. After leaving the building past 5 a.m., I went to a nearby bagel shop. 1 raisin bagel and coffee with no sugar. No, that day I took 2 sugars. It seemed like a morning that needed sugar. Then I got in the car and headed back to Noryu Hospital. I stopped by a nearby Korean deli grocery to buy some flowers. I bought a bouquet of roses. Perhaps because they were freshly prepared, dew-like droplets glistened on them. I wondered if these droplets would stay that way until I arrived at the hospital and reached her room. I drove carefully, but ultimately, I couldn't keep them that way. Still, I arrived at the floor where Holly was staying, holding a bouquet of roses that were still fresh. The elevator door opened with its dull chime, and I walked to find her room number. After checking the number displayed outside the door, I stepped into the room where a warm yellow light was seeping out. On the bed, a white sheet covered a white woman who was reading something. Her emaciated appearance was evident even through the sheets covering her, but I recognized her instantly by that blonde hair. Holly?
Wow, look who's here. I can't believe what I'm seeing now.
You look still stunning, Holly. What are you? Taking a break from the world or what? I joked. Holly laughed and replied,
Yeah, I think you can say that. How many years ago was it? Gosh, nearly 10 years, and you haven't changed a bit.
Thank you, and you look exactly the same too. She wore a faint smile. In truth, her face had grown much darker. Her cheeks were deeply sunken, and even that gorgeous blonde hair seemed to have lost much of its vitality. Her lips were also very dry. Those beautiful brown eyes still sparkled like forest starlight, but beneath them, dark circles had spread excessively. We sat right next to each other, sometimes standing, sharing many stories. An hour passed in the blink of an eye. Breakfast arrived at 8 o'clock. Watching her eat, I just sat there quietly. Commute time had already passed, but I couldn't leave. Before coming up, I'd braced for the worst, but seeing her looking better than I'd expected brought a sense of relief. Without a trace of sadness, we talked for over an hour and a half. I promised to come back, to bring her delicious food from downtown next time. But she just listened. Holly, who had been listening all along, began our farewell like this.
The doctor says I may have less than a few months left, and I haven't told anyone yet.
I couldn't say anything. It was simply impossible to say anything. After that, she shared a few more things. She said she had one request for me. She told me calmly that she'd be spending her last few days at her parents' house, that she was being discharged from the hospital tomorrow, that my coming today was a blessing from God, and that she was incredibly happy to see me again. While she spoke, I couldn't bring myself to look at her and just stared out the window. When she finished, I turned my gaze back to her. Farewell. At that moment, she wanted to say her final goodbye to me. I didn't say anything wonderful to Holly that day, at that moment. Thinking back now, I regret that there must have been better words I could have said. That autumn morning, with the sun shining so warmly, I kissed her on her right cheek, just as she had done to me 8 years ago. The same trembling, the same hesitation, and her scent remained unchanged. She smiled brightly, and I smiled back at her. A thought flashed through my mind. How should I walk out of the hospital room? I didn't want to turn my back and leave, so I slipped one hand into my pants pocket, chatting casually as if in a movie scene, waving with the other hand as if saying goodbye. And just before stepping completely out of the hospital room door, I gave her a final salute. Not a stiff military one, but a two-finger salute, as if scattering something into the sky with my fingers. And in that very moment, the sight of her beaming smile and the look in her eyes, a smile and gaze not much changed from those 8 years prior, remains etched in my memory, frozen like a still frame from a movie scene. She passed away less than a month later, not yet 35. It was November 1996. Holly, the one who gave me my first kiss when I was just 16, and the one to whom I gave my first kiss, if you can call it that, when I was late. Every time I go to New York, I pass that street on Lexington Avenue at least once. If it's winter or autumn that day, my heart flutters for no reason. Because I can imagine, just like back then, that around the next block corner, I might see a woman with short blonde hair looking at me, smiling brightly and waving her hand. And I would stop the car. If she got in, I'd probably play Simon and Garfunkel's Kathy's Song. My mind's distracted and diffused. My thoughts are many miles away. They lie with you when you're asleep and kiss you when you start your day. And so you see, I've come to doubt all that I once held as true. I stand alone without beliefs. The only truth I know is you.